Good morning, students. We're happy to organize a Worldwide AIDS Day under the unit of Youth Red Cross and Red Ribbon Club. So the year 2020 is sentenced for COVID-19, but this day, the 1st December, is to remember a disease which originated decades earlier and swept across the world and one of the world's most serious health challenge. Yes, that is HIV/AIDS. Approximately 38 million people across the globe with HIV/AIDS in 2019. Of this, 36.2 million were adults and 1 million were children below 15 years of age. India has the third largest HIV epidemic in the world, with 2.1 million people living with HIV/AIDS. In Tamil Nadu, 1.43 lakh people living with HIV/AIDS has a prevalence of 0.27 than the national average of HIV-infected population, one of the 6th high prevalence states in India. HIV/AIDS has had a large impact on society, both as an illness and as a source of discrimination. The disease also has a large economic impact. Despite the availability of a widening array of effective HIV prevention tools and methods, massive scale-up of HIV treatment in recent years, AIDS cautions there has been unequal progress in reducing HIV infections. Our theme for World AIDS Day 2020 is Global Solidarity and Shared Responsibility. Let's campaign to strengthen within the communities and shared responsibility to each other that has contributed in great part to our victorious over HIV/AIDS. Here, Dr. K. Mahadevan, Dermatology PhD Hospital, shared our screen to give a guest lecture on this HIV/AIDS Day. Sir is qualified professor of sexually transmitted disease, Coimbatore Medical College and Hospitals, involved in skin, STI and HIV/AIDS practices from 1991. Sir has additional training in counseling training at CMC Vellore and physician responsible for AIDS management training from Government Thoracic Medicine Hospital, Tambaram, Chennai, syndromic case management of sexually transmitted infection training from Tamil Nadu State AIDS Control Society. So activities involved is a resource person for Tamil Nadu State AIDS Control Society and resource person for APAC for the training activities. Associated with Nirmala College for Women, conducting free medical camps for HIV positive women and children since 2000. The awards are twice bagged gold medal, Dr. Ranganathan Memorial Award at National Conference on STD and AIDS at Chennai and Kodaikanal, and silver medal at Cochin in 1989. And also the Republic Day Award in 2003 and in 2015. A lot more credential. With this short welcome, I'm handing over the session to the sir. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, madam, for the introduction. And good morning, students. And we are commemorating World AIDS Day today. It is about 32 years since this phenomenon has started, World AIDS Day. It was in 1982. Initially, WHO people, two people, one Mr. Bunn and another Twitter, they thought we should do something to propagate the message of AIDS throughout the community. And they decided upon December 1, because in the United States, from November, the election starts, presidential elections, and the winter is there. Then there will be a media lull between. There will not be much of media, social media and other things in between because of the Christmas. So they selected December 1 will be an ideal date to initiate the process, and by the time the media comes into picture, they can propagate messages all through the community. That is how the thing started. Initially, it was part of WHO activity. Then it went to UNAIDS. Then from 2014 onwards, it has been taken by a separate Society for World AIDS Day, which is situated in Netherlands. That is how all these things started moving. Why this World AIDS Day was started? It is not just to propagate the message, but we are always celebrating so many days. But here we are commemorating. What is commemoration? Can anybody tell from their side? Students say commemoration. What is commemoration? You have muted all the things. Huh? Any idea what is commemoration? So commemoration is observation. So this is, we are observing the death of people who have died of AIDS all these years. So that death gives a message to us. So what is that message? Why these people got the disease? Why they are dying like this? What are all the problems faced by his family and the community? And what is going to happen to their family hereafter? How many people might have given the disease to him, to whom he might have given the disease? So all these messages were given by the death of a single person. So almost the whole epidemiology comes into place with the death of a person who died of AIDS. That is the peculiarity of this thing. And they started giving a theme also. Initially, we started with a single theme, children and youth. So we started like that. Then gradually, every year they started giving for 3 or 4 years. Sometimes we had to stop AIDS for quite a long time. 6 or 7 years we had to stop AIDS. Now this year we are having global solidarity, and we have to share the responsibility. That is how. Why this global solidarity? Because of the pandemic of COVID, they have linked the two, and both are pandemics, and they want to bring down the incidence of these two infections as early as possible. Actually, there was a program, still the program is there, but 1990, we will bring down HIV to a certain extent that 90% of the we will be knowing about HIV. 98% of the people who are having HIV will be going to the ART center for drugs. And there will be 90% lesser incidence of children born with HIV/AIDS. So this was the motto of that message. But unfortunately, it is not happening now. Why? Because the awareness programs have come down, because the government also, and more people are getting HIV and they want to treatment. They are not bothered about their responsibility of not giving it to somebody else. So what happens now? We wanted 90% of the people should have awareness about HIV. Today, what we are having is 81% of Indians are having awareness about HIV. And other target was 90% of the people who are having HIV should get ART medicine. Unfortunately, it is only 57% of the people are getting ART drugs. So what is the problem here? Not knowing is a problem. Only 10% are there, 18%. But here, nearly 40% people are not getting ART at all. What is the reason behind this? They are afraid of going to the ART center. My status will be known to somebody else. So I will be black marked, ostracized. So I am not going for ART. But unfortunately, they don't know one thing. When the third theme is coming here, there. When you are taking ART, 90% of the people will be having zero viral load. So that was the target. By 1990, we should have 90% of the people with viral stability. But 48% of the people are not taking ART, means they are having a very high viral load. So they can give it to the spouse and they can give it to the community at large. Those who are coming to terms with them, or they are having sexual relationship with them. So these are all the things happening. So still, we are happy that our Indian country has gone to this, from second position, we are gone to the third position. Our new incidence has come down drastically. It's only 2.6% of the people are getting infected. and the children are less nowadays with HIV, born with HIV. So very plus points are there. Unfortunately, those who are getting new year infections are not going for ART drugs. So this is one challenging thing we are having. This is not only in India, this challenge is there all over the world, especially African countries and underdeveloped countries, and of course India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. All these areas are facing this challenge, and we should address to this challenge and how we can do this. And fortunately for the mother to child transmission is very less nowadays because of one drug that is called nevirapine, which we are giving to the HIV positive mother. ART we are giving to the child, we are giving nevirapine for 45 days. So we are bringing children without HIV from a HIV infected mother. That is a good thing. But the only problem is we are not having awareness. Nearly 20% of the community is not having, and you are all nursing students. And there's a recent journal article from the British UK that hospital staff nurses, they did a survey. How many people are, because just before World AIDS Day, they wanted to do a survey. They wanted to know how many people are knowing full awareness and the subject matter of HIV infection and how to nurse them, keep them in good spirit and counseling, etc. To my shock, I noticed that it was only 67.8% knew about HIV infection. And then only comes the nursing care and other things. HIV infection itself, what are all the spreading methodology, what are all the complications, and nearly 30% of the nursing staff didn't know that. So what is the reason behind this? I was pondering. And the thing is, we are not giving importance to HIV anymore because it is already there for so many years. It all started in 1981 when 5 homosexual people were identified with a particular disease called pneumocystis carinii pneumonia in America. And they found out that their CD4 count was less. And they coined the term HIV in 1982 December only, and 83 January. Two scientists identified this, Robert Gallo and another person, both identified these things. And everything was at the peak at that time because all those people identified with the disease were dying immediately because already they got the disease some 15 to 20 years back. So we didn't know anything about it. And the drug Sirodin was identified in 86 only. The same year, 86, we had the first case in India. So in which part of India we identified the first case? Can anyone tell? Nearly 100 students are there now. Can anyone tell me which state had the first case in India? So it was Tamil Nadu. So we had 6 workers and one transgender also. In 1986, in Tamil Nadu, we identified the first disease. But the first rank of having highest number of HIV in India went to Maharashtra. Though first case was identified in Tamil Nadu, we had first rank holding state was Maharashtra. Then gradually we picked up, and by 1996, we became the first rank holders in HIV. And 2006, up to 10 years, we were having the first rank in India. Tamil Nadu was having the first rank. Now, Tamil Nadu has come down a lot. And we are having around 1.5 lakhs people in Tamil Nadu, of which 10% are children. That is the 10% are women and children. So that is an annoying thing. But from 4.5 lakhs to 6 lakhs we were having, now it is less than 1.5 lakhs cases because of the responsibility took up by the NGOs, government institutions, private institutions, religious activists. All these people from all walks of life, they came together to share the responsibility. And now we see a better Tamil Nadu than it was before 2006 and before that. So that is one thing. Now this is about what has happened as far as AIDS is concerned. Now as nursing students, you should know what does AIDS do to the man or woman infected, and to us also sometimes. So that is the most important thing that we should know. So AIDS is caused by human immunodeficiency virus, which everybody knows, and it is transmitted by sexual route. Usually heterosexual route. Around 81% of the people are having heterosexual route. Only they are having this HIV disease, and around 2.6% are through homosexual route. And blood transfusion accounts for about 1.8%. So all others remaining, mother to child, around 5% we are having in India. Tamil Nadu statistics is not known. So 5% mother to child we are having in India. So these are all the ways and means by which HIV can be transmitted. And as a special group, we are here, medical personnel, healthcare workers, we are there who can also get involved apart from these modalities. So we are getting it accidentally through our service to the patients. That is the most important thing. We are caring for the patient, but we are not caring for ourselves. So that is why we get the infections. 2 days back, I had a phone call from the medical officer from private hospital. During surgery, his staff nurse got injury, needle prick, and they know that the person was HIV positive, they were operating. But somehow she got the infection and she was upset. So they called me, what should we do? So no problem, I thought we have got a drug and we can give it to her. But unfortunately, the doctor and the nurse didn't know that that drug should be taken within 6 hours ideally, or maximum 72 hours. They called me 3 days later after the injury has taken place. So this is the problem we are having. That is why I am going to talk about how to protect yourself. Maximum I am going to talk about. All the other things everybody can know and take necessary steps. So as nursing students, what is the problem we are going to face and you are going to face? So all the other things we know, sexual route and other things, blood transfusion, mother to child, etc., drug abuse, IV drug abuse. But we are worried about the needle prick injury. So what constitutes a needle prick injury? So there are so many things. Many people are afraid an insulin needle is pricked and I am afraid. So it all depends. Needle prick injury, chance of getting HIV infection is only 0.003%. That is 3,000 pricks if somebody gets, they can get HIV infection. That is what. In the other way, what does it mean is, if you have 3,000 pricks, definitely one of the patient will be having HIV and you are likely to get. But it may be the first person you are getting a prick or the 3,000 patient you are getting a prick. In between, anything can happen. So it doesn't mean that the chance is very less. I am going to be careless. So that is what I mean by 0.033% chance means out of 3,000, anything can be there. First patient or the 3,000th patient. So that is the problem we are having and what to do now. So it all depends upon the type of procedures you are involved. So if it is going to be intra-abdominal surgery, more blood is coming out, then you have to be careful. And if it is going to be in the ward, you are doing a lumbar puncture. CSF contains more viral particle than the blood. So 20 times more viral particles are there in the cerebrospinal fluid. So when you are doing lumbar puncture and if you get a needle prick, the chance of getting HIV is more when compared to an IV needle. And IV needle is very high when compared to IM needle. And the subcutaneous intradermal needles are negligible. They don't have the virus particle at all. If at all present, it is very, very low. Our body will take care of it. So intramuscular also not much chances there. We are worried about the IV needle and the cerebrospinal fluid. The other area is you are doing liver biopsy. So liver biopsy needle aspiration, they are doing lymph node aspiration. Lymph node contains all the HIV is trapped in the lymph node. So if you are going to do lymph node aspiration or puncture, something, bubo aspiration, the viral particle is going to be more there. Another area is amniocentesis, which is not routinely done. but amniotic fluid contains HIV compared to more than the blood. So these are all the areas HIV is present in a higher concentration, and we have to be careful. So what should we do? So with the pandemic of COVID around, we are going to protect ourselves. So if you're going to be the head, it is going to be the mask, face mask and face shield we are going to have. Then if it is the hand, we are going to have the pair of gloves. And previously we were teaching about double gloves method. Now we are telling don't use double gloves. Single pair of gloves is essential to prevent HIV, hepatitis B and HIV, HCV. So we need not get double gloves. Always is a problematic thing. It will become tightened and you may get an injury because of the tightening of the fingers. So don't use double gloves at all. And apron for the necessary procedures, you should have the full apron, mask, cap, everything that should be worn. That is it is small procedure only. I need not have anything. That is not the question at all. Whatever be the procedure, think that this person is a human being. A human being can have HIV. HIV, if it gets transmitted to me because of the service I am providing to you, nobody will take care of me. That is the problem. When we get HIV, people immediately think that this person is bad. He got HIV because 85% of the HIV is transmitted by sexual route. People think all the other 15% people are getting through sexual route only. So by service, we should not get a bad name at all, and our image will be lost in this community. So we have to protect ourselves, and the problem associated with HIV are there. So this is the protective mechanism we are going to have everywhere for all the things, all the HU I used to say, HIV, hepatitis B and HCV. That is why we call it as a universal precaution. It is not universal precaution means for all the three viruses we are having it, all the patients we are going to have it, in all the places where we work, we are going to go. Everywhere, for everybody, we are going to use it. So that is the meaning of the universal precaution. Many people think I am going to use universal precaution only for HIV or hepatitis B. Okay, if you think hepatitis B is nearly 20 times more infectious than HIV, and hepatitis C is 200 times more infectious than HIV. So this is the worst thing. HCV is the worst thing. Next comes hepatitis B. Next comes HIV. But HIV is worldwide prevalent and it is in large numbers seen. So we are worried about that. So this is the precaution we are going to take. So what happens when the HIV virus gets into it? Like any other people, we are also getting HIV through needle prick, and this HIV immediately goes to the lymph nodes and it bends all through the system. And it targets one cell called CD4 cell. It is a T lymphocytes, subset of T lymphocyte. CD4 cells are important to identify a virus or bacteria, and it is called cellular immunity. That is the most important thing, CD4 cell. So it remembers the thing. It becomes a memory cell and it remembers the virus or whatever it is. And when it comes back, it tells the message, the previous culprit has come now, he is going to do damage, and CD8 and other things will come into play and they eliminate the virus or bacteria, whatever it is. But unfortunately in HIV, what happens? The HIV targets the particular CD4 cells. So what happens there? It is a simple mechanism. It is called Trojan theory. You may be knowing about the Trojan horse in Greek mythology. Same thing happens here. There is a Trojan virus in computer system also. Trojan virus is, it gets into the system in one program. When you open that program, the virus is released and it infects the next program. Gradually, the whole computer will be standstill, hanged up. So this is the same mechanism followed by the HIV in our body. So it gets into the CD4 cells and it is an RNA virus. But this merges into the DNA of the virus, human body. How this RNA changes into DNA, proviral DNA. This proviral DNA merges with our DNA and it gives orders to the CD4 cell. When you multiply, don't produce your own progeny. That is, don't produce another CD4. Instead, I got given my RNA and my DNA has get attached to that, and this DNA you are going to use it. So what will be produced? Gradually, our body becomes a manufacturing unit for production of the HIV. Instead of another CD4 coming out, HIV will be produced. So 1 becomes 4, 4 becomes 16, 16 becomes 256. So gradually this number increasing, and more so the CD4 count will be coming down. So normal CD4 count is above 350. For some lab it says 450, up to 1600 we need. But when it goes below 200, our immunity breaks down. So when the immunity breaks down, what happens? All other infections can attack us. So what are all the infections that can attack? It may be bacterial, viral, fungal, protozoal, parasitic, whatever you have learned in microbiology, whatever you have left in microbiology, whatever you have left over in choice material, all these organisms will come into play. Now, we have not studied about so many things. When I was MBBS student, I have not thought about cryptococcosis and isosporiasis. Now, HIV, that is the most common infection we are having, diarrhea producing and meningitis producing organism. So these are all innocuous organisms previously. Now they are producing havoc in HIV individuals. So that is the peculiarity, that because of the CD4 count going down below 200, immunity breaks down, all infections can occur. It is not single infection. In a single person, multiple infections can occur at the same time, or single infection can occur over the multiple systems at the same time. Amoebiasis. Anyway, industrial amoebiasis, at the same time, patient will be having hepatic amoebiasis. Tuberculosis, very classical example is tuberculosis. In the same HIV patient, TB can occur as TB meningitis, TB pneumonia, TB pneumonitis, whatever it is, TB abdomen. So usually we say TB lung patient is having bad immunity. All other area we will be having good immunity. Skin, TB skin, patient is having good immunity, it is not able to penetrate. But unfortunately in HIV individual, even though the CD4 has become low and immunity gone down, pulmonary TB is still the commonest. And TB is the very commonest infection in HIV which kills the patient. Nearly 60% to 70% of the HIV individuals die because of TB, and vice versa. If you say 70% of the HIV people, they are screened, they are found to be having HIV infection. That is why we are having a separate program. HIV and TB program is going on. Even in our hospital, Dr. Mohammed is in community medicine, is in charge of that HIV TB co-infection program. So this, how prevalent these two are, they are having a separate targeting methodology for these things. Anybody who is found with TB, they should undergo HIV testing. Anybody who is having HIV infection, they should be screened for TB. That is how we are progressing in that line. So TB is one another very common thing. Pneumonia is another. Pneumonia, PCP pneumonia, that is a very common thing. Pneumocystis carinii and other bacterial pneumonias can also occur. And we have got this brain waste. If you have toxoplasmosis can occur, cryptococcal meningitis. HIV itself can produce HIV encephalopathy, and CNS lymphoma can occur. So if you enumerate the infections in the textbook of medicine and my parasitology, microbiology, everything, all these things can come in an HIV patient. But usually skin is the most important thing where we are having so many things. So I used to say, skin manifestations of HIV means from A to Z we are having so many things. Without going other in area, we can identify a HIV individual. So abscess, usually patient will be having 1 or 2 abscesses. Multiple abscesses are common. B for bacillary angioma, it is produced by the cat. So people will be having red spots all over the body. That is called bacillary angioma. Then C for cryptococcosis. Cryptococcus usually occurs in the lung, but in HIV individuals, it will be occurring over the skin. So D for drug reaction. Any drug can produce reactions in HIV people. And E for eosinophilic folliculitis. The pustules will be there, but instead of neutrophils, we will be having eosinophils there. So this is a peculiar situation. They are usually caused by mosquito bite allergy and other things. So you are having eosinophilic follicle. Then F for furunculosis. Furuncle is staphylococcal infection. Multiple furuncles can occur all over the body. That is G for generalized lymphadenopathy. H for hidradenitis suppurativa. I for ichthyosis. Ichthyosis might be seeing some crisscross pattern in the skin with the dry scaly patches. So this is produced by vitamin A and essential fatty acid deficiency. So HIV people are having diarrhea. They are having oral candidiasis, so they cannot take any food. So malnutrition occurs. Malnutrition produces ichthyosis and dry skin. So I for ichthyosis. J for Jarris extremia reaction in syphilis. If they are giving penicillin for syphilis, they will get a severe reaction. That is the J. Then K for Kaposi sarcoma. Kaposi sarcoma is one of the cutaneous cancers, which was first seen in the first 5 of the patient in United States. It is a very peculiar skin cancer, very rare. It is very common in HIV individuals. Then L for lymphoma of the skin, moniliasis, Norwegian scabies, oral hairy leukoplakia. Then P for purpura, R for recurrent herpes patient can have, and S for seborrheic dandruff. Usually dandruff occurs over the scalp. For HIV people, it occurs all over the body. Face, ear, neck, shoulders, axilla, all these areas can be affected. So T for tinea infections, extensive, urticaria, warts, multiple warts can be seen, cirrhosis can be seen, yellow nail, and zoster. Zoster usually occurs over a single dermatome, but in HIV individuals, it occurs multiple dermatome. And zoster usually occurs only once in lifetime, but in HIV, it comes again and again. So if somebody says, I had herpes 2 years back, now I am having herpes again now, immediately go for an HIV test for that fellow. So this is the skin manifestations immediately seen outside the body, and we can easily identify the HIV people through these, and we can confirm it all this by doing an ELISA or Western blot or PCR, whatever methodology you use. Now the treatment is simple. The treatment is you identify the patient, immediately screen for TB and any other liver kidney markers you do, and immediately start the ART. So that is what we are advising now. Previously, we were telling CD4 count should be below 350, below 500. Gradually, they increase. Now, nothing at all. The moment you identify, you start treat the patient. Minimum 3 drugs should be there. And what drugs are there? Tenofovir, lamivudine, efavirenz. Now they have started giving tenofovir, lamivudine, dolutegravir. So the regimen has changed over the years. We were giving sirovudine initially. Now it is not like that. Tenofovir, lamivudine, and efavirenz. Idea is it is a single tablet. All 3 drugs are in single tablet. They can take easily 1 tablet daily. So it is not going to affect if somebody becomes pregnant along with the drug, they need not change the drug. This is as good as normal period. They can continue the drug, and it prevents the baby from getting the infection. So these are all the plus points of the newer regimens we are giving, and people are living longer. So I have got some patients. I came to Coimbatore in '94, and at that time I had a patient from Satyamangalam. He is still alive. So nearly at that time he was 61 years. Now what is his age? You calculate. So people are able to live longer. So now what happens is we are seeing patients with HIV who are living longer, and they are going to have some metabolic disorders. So this is another problem we are facing, metabolic disorders. So in your OPR ward, people will be having metabolic disorders, and we have to screen them for HIV also, which really we are not doing that. But any metabolic disorder, now it is better to have old man, 65 years, we have metabolic disorder, we have to screen them for HIV also. So these are all the newer problems faced by the treatment of HIV. It is not because of HIV, it is because of lipodystrophy, hypercholesterolemia, and hypertension, more cardiac infarctions occurring. So these are all the part of they live longer, but with agony they are live longer. So this is the problem. Of course, we have to face it. Any treatment will have some side effects. Now coming to your part, if you get a needle prick, what you should do? How to protect yourself, we have told. If you get a needle prick, what should we do? Can anybody tell me? Nobody is answering. Wait. You have threatened them.
You need a pause actually.
Huh?
They are raising their hands.
இதில் எழுதியிருக்காங்களா? இதில் எழுதலையா? வரலையே, சாட்ல வரலையே.
We have unmuted.
If we get a needle stick injury, immediately we want to wash the hand with the running soap and running water, and report to the supervisor, and we should take a blood test. For
Ah.
the patient also, they should take a blood serology test.
Now only you have got the needle prick. Why should you take a blood test immediately? The blood test becomes positive after 6 weeks only, Anisa. Isn't it? Blood test becomes positive after 6 weeks only. You say immediately you should go for a blood test. Logic there. Actually, there is a logic. Can anybody tell? So we don't know whether you had any prick before this incident. Now you are aware of the incident and you are washing your hands immediately, telling your nursing supervisor, and she is taking you to the infectious disease specialist, Dr. Murali, and he is advising you to go for post-exposure prophylaxis. But the thing is, we don't know whether you had the virus already or not. So we want to have a 0-day ELISA first. Then after 6 weeks, you will be screened again. And after 12 weeks, you will be screened again. This is the protocol we are following. Anybody who is getting prick should wash their hands with water. What you should not do? What is not supposed to be done immediately after your needle prick
Should
injury?
not squeeze the hand.
So they should not squeeze the hand. Okay, finger or hand, they should not squeeze it. And they should not put their finger into their mouth. That is the common habit. Whenever we get a needle prick, we put our fingers into the mouth. That should not be done because through mucous membrane, HIV goes faster into the body. So we are not supposed to do that. If you do a squeezing, what happens when you release that? There is a negative pressure occurring by capillary section. Whatever virus is outside, it will be sucked into the system. So we are not supposed to squeeze. We are not supposed to put the finger into the mouth. And ordinary soap and water is enough to kill the virus. But this is the most advantageous thing with HIV is ordinary soap will kill the thing. You need not go for special antiseptic. COVID is killed by so many things, including Dettol. But unfortunately, HIV is not killed by Dettol. I don't think anybody knows this thing. All other antiseptics kill HIV. Dettol doesn't kill HIV. Though he advertises 99.9%. Probably this 0.1% is HIV, I don't know. So this is the thing we should know. And we should be careful. And if it is a pregnant staff, what will be doing? So they should be screened before the delivery also. Not only for 12 weeks, they should be screened again before the delivery, and they should continue, if possible, up to 12 weeks, they have to continue the post-exposure prophylaxis. So post-exposure prophylaxis is the same drug which is given for ART people. HIV people, what we give, the same drug is given for these people also. So we are not giving special drug for post-exposure prophylaxis. The immediate thing that we should do is this should be taken within 6 hours. Then it gives 100%. Up to 72 hours, it is okay. More than 72 hours, it is a waste. I was giving a case history of staff nurse calling me after 3 days of injury. So that should not occur. So that is the most important thing. Immediately, we should start taking the drug. Of course, they have got very good side effects. Vomiting, severe vomiting, nausea will be there. Abdominal cramps will be there. But unfortunately, you have to continue the drug for 28 days minimum. And then you go for these things. So this is the protection we are going to take. And we should not be afraid of taking care of the HIV people just because needle prick can kill me also. So it is not going to kill you because we have got ART. Post-exposure prophylaxis is available in every hospital now. And we can prevent ourselves. So the best thing is protect yourself. Treat anybody as potentially HIV infected person. Don't think if I come into your ward as a patient, Dr. Mahadevan is our professor, she is a nice man, so I need not wear gloves. That should not be the criteria. Mahadevan is a human being. Mahadevan only knows about Mahadevan, nobody else. Even my wife doesn't know about me. So this is the thing we are going to follow. So anybody entering onto our system, we should take adequate precautions. Just because thinking that only we can prevent ourselves from getting there. And this should not start with ourselves. We should not stop the thing with ourselves. we should share the messages with all the people around us. And if somebody is there in the ward, you talk about the HIV. And when I am going in a bus, I always talk about HIV to the neighboring passenger. Many people may not like it, but I always say, I am Dr. Magadyan, I am involved in HIV activity. So I talk about this. That for that purpose only, they gave me 2 times Republic Day award was given to me because of that only. And 1 award was given by Pope, Vatican Pope. So because I was giving messages all through my walks of life. So this should be the motto. Everybody should talk about all these hepatitis B, C, HIV. Now COVID is there. So if somebody comes without mask to talk about COVID, so you can enter into what type of mask you should wear. Many people are wearing masks, but that is not covering the nose. So we should immediately tell them, take 1 or 2 minutes to tell them about HIV, whatever disease we are having now. Now COVID is the important thing. So they are all for COVID. As far as HIV, the problem is a global pandemic. So it is a global challenge we are having. HIV incidence has come down, but it is still there. Anytime it can. The HIV awareness happens only on AIDS Day. Other days we are not talking about HIV at all. So many people are, even in our period of this time, COVID time, lockout time, I was getting phone messages from many people that I went to a massage parlor and had sex with the massage girl. And whether I can get post-exposure prophylaxis drugs. But unfortunately, the government says post-exposure prophylaxis is for only healthcare personnel, not for those fellows going to massage parlors. So we have to tell them. So, and I asked my PG to count the number of people who have gone to the massage parlor in the lockout period. Believe it or not, we had 14 patients going to the massage parlor. So actually, everything was closed during lockdown period. And in Coimbatore, massage parlors were open and all sorts of activities were going on. So this is because of the lack of awareness these people are doing all this. So one is COVID, another is HIV. The patient we went to massage parlor are more worried about HIV than COVID. So we have given lockdown for COVID. Unfortunately, these people think COVID is not so much a problem. I can enjoy my life, and they get fear psychosis. And one person is still having suicidal tendency. I have asked him to meet Dr. Ragutaman. So these are all the things happening in our society. So we have got a responsibility. So it is a challenge everywhere, and we have got a responsibility, and we should share this responsibility to eliminate or to bring down the incidence of both COVID and HIV in the community. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.